Referee Greg Talbot and Danny Waugh alongside, and we are just about ready to get underway tonight from Statesboro in Hanner Fieldhouse. We're going to see some great style today on the floor today, Danny. Georgia Southern, one of the hottest three-point shooting teams in the Sun Belt Conference. Savannah State, the most prolific three-point shooting team in America.
They've already shot over 400 threes this season, only averaging 28%, but you're going to live and die by the three every game.
So Georgia Southern's starting five, down Ike Smith. Subbing in is the man with the ball right now. That is David Lee Jones, the sophomore guard, taking Ike Smith's place. Allsmiller from the corner opens up the game with a big three for Southern. And Savannah State will hit right back. Austin Descent answers. And Danny, that's the kind of game this is going to be today. Threes all the time.
This is going to be a fun one to witness here tonight.
So that's all this game's going to be. First 30 seconds, both teams have three-pointers on the board, and Savannah State goes into their press early on. So here is Tukey Brown. Even without Ike, you got to expect he's going to lead this team in shooting and assists tonight.
They did a great job passing the ball in the last couple of games, and he takes a three right here, nails it.
And Tukey opens up the game with a three. He is the team's leading scorer this year with a 15.5 points game. Had 15 last Saturday against Tennessee Wesleyan.
Already a great career for Tukey Brown. Two-time Sun Belt Conference first team, Sun Belt freshman player of the year. Has been a great leader for the Georgia Southern team.
Dexter McClanahan ties us up. Both teams in their first pair of field goals tonight from outside. Now, that was McClanahan. He is their leading scorer at 14 points a game.
Also shooting 30% behind the three-point line. Didn't have the best outing against William & Mary in the Tigers' last contest. Only 1 of 8 from the three-point line. Brown fires again.
Tukey Brown already hot. And I'll tell you, not only has he been hot all season, Danny, he's also been hot tremendously in his career against Savannah State. 20 points last year in Savannah against the Tigers. Up and under, shot no good. Allsmiller can't get the rebound. Outside to McClanahan. He won't launch. And they'll whip it around the perimeter again. Shot on the way again for SSU. Clanks off the back iron and yanked down by Tukey. Outlet pass, ripped away. David Lee Jones was the intended recipient. And here comes Descent. Savannah State for the lead. They won't take it. Instead, they will reset. Jones, the steal for Southern. Up to Brown. Tukey splits the defenders and the damage.
What a great transaction there for Georgia Southern. That's how they've been able to get a lot of points this season, getting points off of turnovers. David Lee Jones able to stick with it on Savannah State's point guard, and with a nice pass to find Brown, for the basket and one.
So Tukey Brown already red hot tonight for Georgia Southern. 8 of the team's first 11 points. A pair of threes, the 2, and a chance for one more.
And prior to this game, Brown was only 8 of 19 from behind the three-point line. A good percentage, 42%, but already is hot here to start this action.
Referees say Zach Sellers stepped out of bounds for Savannah State, and Southern will take over. Actually, my mistake, that's an early foul. Referees made the push out of bounds mark, and Savannah State will keep possession as McClanahan is set to inbound to Descent.
So that'll be the first foul for Mike Hughes. We'll see a little bit more of Hughes in this game as well.
Well, we're going to need to, and as Savannah State takes over, Danny, let's take a second here as Glenn works it up top. To Alante Fenner. Down low against Allsmiller. Floater up and good. Makes it 12-8. Let's talk about the math that comes along with Ike Smith being out. Traditionally, not only this season, but last year as well, games where Tukey Brown and Ike Smith did not score double digits are games that they lost even to teams that are weaker in the Sun Belt Conference, like their rivals in App State. Here's Hughes for 3. Shot is up and good. With Ike out of this game, not only do they need Tukey to go over double digits, which he's almost already done, they need a couple other players to do that as well.
Yeah, you're looking at guys like Jake Allsmiller and B.J. Gladden to help and produce points in this game tonight. Got to replace the near 20 points a game that Ike Smith was able to produce on the floor.
Perimeter passing, Descent, step back 3, clangs it off the back iron, and Tukey the board.
So far, Georgia Southern 5 for 5 from the field. That's their first miss.
Clangs it off the back iron, And here comes Descent again. As we were telling you at the top of the broadcast, this is just going to be running and threes, as that one is good from Alante Fenner. He dials it up from the corner and puts this game back within 4 points.
You're starting to see that a lot more in college basketball, and especially in the NBA, just more and more guys going up the floor and pulling up from deep instead of to drive and move inside the basket.
Monte Glenn takes it down low. They might get him for the travel. And they did.
Here's another storyline we didn't talk about. The battle of the bigs between the two Glenns for both teams. Monte Glenn, the 6'8 junior, and Maricas Glenn, the 6'10 senior for Savannah State.
Yeah, Savannah State, despite the fact that they are a running and shooting team, does have a couple traditionally bigger guys. Talking to Mark Byington, head coach of the Eagles, even last year, he said that he was building toward in the mold of the Golden State Warriors and a lot of the successful teams in the NBA and college basketball nowadays, positionless basketball, 5 guys that can all play together, as that shot is good from Malike Arizu. It's a little bit different when you play a team like Savannah State that has big guys, because that does give them an inherent advantage.
And the Eagles not known for having that type of size on their roster, but they did recruit a 7'1 center last year, Tyshawn Crawford. He is not dressed out for tonight's game, but I'm looking forward to seeing him play on the floor.
Coy Simmons, the board. Southern's big man can't get it. Put back on the way from Quan Jackson, and he'll get the foul and 2 shots at the free throw line. So Casey can now see a couple new players into this game for Georgia Southern. Quan Jackson subs in, as does Coy Simmons, the big
change. We have a combined 7 of 11 3-point shots taken and made between the two teams, as Quan Jackson will head to the line and shoot 2. Both teams have been on a really scoring well in the first couple of minutes. Both teams 5 of 8 from the field.
So Quan Jackson's first shot is off and no good. We're just before the break here on True Blue TV. I saw him drive to the lane and got fouled, missed the shot. So here comes number 2 for the redshirt freshman from Tallahassee. 1 for 2 at the free throw line. Southern takes a 3-point lead, and if SSU keeps it going, that'll be enough maybe to keep the lead, as that shot is no good, as Tyleek Evans drove to the lane. Now he will get 2 shots. And take a look at the replay here. And Danny, I was at this Savannah State game for SAV just a couple days ago. That is a play he likes. He likes isolation on the right wing, goes straight to the basket more often than not, does get fouled. That is his signature move.
He almost got the and 1 too, so you can tell how often he likes to go on that right side and drive to the basket.
First of 2 is good. It's back to a 2-point game. Some subs onto the floor for Georgia Southern. David Lee Jones back into the game after getting the start, and B.J. Gladden comes in for the first time as well.
You talked about for a moment, Greg, how even though Savannah State's 3-7, they're a fun team to watch and they love to shoot threes. Well, they haven't had the easiest of schedules in the first 10 games of the year.
They sure have not.
Taking on teams like Cincinnati, Texas Tech, and Wichita State, and they still have more intense teams to play later on this season.
Well, let's talk about that as Tukey Brown brings it across. This is going to be the easiest game they play for about 2 weeks, Danny. Tell the folks at home who Savannah State has just in the next couple days.
Well, you don't want this schedule if you're Savannah State, but you have Texas A&M, Baylor, Virginia, and Michigan State all on the road in a 4-game road trip.
Sellers whips to Descent. Kicks corner. Shot from Evans. Off the back iron. And Southern keeps possession here as Jackson tries to make the press. Here comes Gladden. They're on the move. David Lee Jones. 3. Around and off. And yanked down by McClanahan. He's their leading scorer, 14.5 points a game, and their best 3-point shooter. They're going to call that against B.J. Gladden. They'll say he reached and stuck his foot out.
And McClanahan, with 14 points a game, leading the team. He averaged 16.5 last season. He's already had some great games this year, one being a 26-point performance against Middle Georgia State, where he went 9 of 16 from the floor and 5 of 11 from behind the arc.
And what is so impressive about this Savannah State team is because they run the floor so much, Danny, because they shoot so much, they get tired. This is one of the biggest rotations that is not only in Georgia, in the Southeast. When Georgia Southern really only plays 9 or 10 kids a game on a regular basis, as it's stolen away and goes back to McClanahan. 3 on the way for Savannah State. Jenkins around and off. And they'll give it away. Here's Quan Jackson.
Oh, wow.
All ball. That'll stay with Georgia Southern. Really amazing. But what's interesting, they got 15 kids in their rotation, Danny. They play 3 full lineups, so they just don't get tired.
Yeah, the first team, a second team, and a third team. I just see the replay. Jackson really wanted to cock it back and lay the hammer down on the Tigers, but gets fouled, or gets hit, I'm sorry.
Man, he wanted to be on Sports Center tonight.
That would have been a top 10 play for sure. The Eagles have made it there a couple of times last season and the season before that.
That one off the hands of Mike Hughes on a low inbound pass. That time from David Lee Jones, and possession goes back to SSU. All right, so Tyleek Evans, again, Danny coming to this right wing, but now David Lee Jones has to know better. No foul called on the play. That certainly wasn't ball, so I think Jones got away with one.
Nice to see the defense picking up for Savannah State, and Georgia Southern has had a hard time to react. Another turnover there, and 0 of 5 in the last 5 shots.
Yeah, so after a really hot start to the game, which included some threes from Tukey Brown and Jake Allsmiller, all of a sudden here in these last few minutes, the shots just not falling and are allowing Savannah State to hang around.
Those opening minutes was a great feeling out process for both teams, and you can tell both teams are firing from all cylinders to start. So now you're starting to see the defense be more of a factor here in these next couple of minutes.
Sellers hesitated, stutter step, and a turnover. In case you're just joining us here live on True Blue TV, first 4 field goals attempted were 4 consecutive made 3-pointers. These are teams that love to play from beyond the arc.
Georgia Southern themselves, they're a 43% shooting team. They shoot 34% from behind the 3-point line.
Yep.
Both of these teams average over 80 points a game as well in the season.
All right, so Tukey Brown and B.J. Gladden will rock in the backcourt now for Southern as Gladden goes down the lane. Hughes, NBA range. Really missed that one long. That didn't even connect with the rim. That one straight off the backboard. As State runs, has it tipped. Gladden feeds it inbounds, back to Hughes. Now Mike will run. That's a blocking foul against Savannah State, and that will be a foul against Dexter McClanahan, their best player.
I admire the defense from Savannah State here, trying to trap Hughes on the corner, but you saw one of them really going at an angle, pushing Hughes out of bounds, and that's how the foul got called.
Certainly the right call that time by the referees. And B.J. Gladden sets inbound once again now for Southern. It's interesting, Danny. B.J. Gladden, after the impressive couple of games he had last year, seemed primed to be a breakout guy this year for Georgia Southern. But the fact that he fought through an injury at the beginning of the season, he's only averaging around 4 points a game. I think Mark Byington needs a little bit more out of him as we head toward the midpoint of the season.
Well, hopefully the goal is to get him ready by the conference play in late December, early January. As you said, he had an injury, didn't play the first 3 games of the season. Now he's kind of trying to work his way back into the lineup. But give it a couple more games. Hopefully tonight will be a breakout game for him, especially with the absence of Ike Smith and the recent reports of Jared Hamilton transferring out of the program.
Yeah, in case you're just joining us here on True Blue TV, Jared Hamilton, the redshirt sophomore, just announcing that he's leaving the program. Wasn't quite happy with his playing time, is the early word out of Georgia Southern, and Ike Smith still battling through an injury. 15 to shoot here for SSU as descent kicks. It's Evans. Feeds down low. Great pass to Javaris Jenkins, and that'll tie the game for Savannah State, 16 each.
It also breaks a 2-minute scoring drought for Savannah State. Nice pass by Evans inside to find the open man.
And now Savannah State trying to play a little hotter defense with this tie, trying to trap and force Southern to turn it over, which they've already done a couple of times. Gladden has it tipped away. No foul, and Evans will run. Feeds up to Fenner. Down the lane, guarded by Allsmiller. Whip it around. Evans, open J. Off the back iron. Foul on the rebound. Looks like that's going to be against B.J. Gladden.
And Evans really frustrated with that shot. You can tell how hard he worked from the steal over on Gladden. Was able to poke his hand in, to able to get the steal, then wanted the basket. Couldn't get it to go inside after Brown was covering him. But at least the possession does stay for the Tigers at the baseline.
And 2 subs in for Georgia Southern. Mark Byington going for a bigger look. Monte Glenn 6'8", and Quan Jackson 6'4". Wide open, Javaris Jenkins left unguarded. And for the first time tonight, Savannah State takes the lead over GSU.
This isn't the first time that the Eagles have needed some time to get through in the first half, but it's usually about the second part of the 10 minutes where they get into the right place.
As Tukey Brown dials up and connects again. 12 points already for Tukey Brown, and we have not even hit the midway mark of the first half tonight in Statesboro. As it's brought across by Jackson, kick to Jake. He already hit a 3. Here comes the next. Got it!
And he was hot last Saturday against Tennessee Wesley, knocking down the first 4 3-pointers. He had 5 threes in the first half of that game.
Quan Jackson tips it, no foul. If they run quickly, they'll have a 5-on-4. Tipped away again. Clean defense, no foul call. Turnover, and SSU will get it back. But that'll take us to a commercial break live here on True Blue TV from Georgia Southern. Eagles on top by 4. Georgia Southern is doing a much better job from beyond the arc. They're 6 for 10 from outside. More importantly, Tukey Brown, who's seen on the middle of the screen, is pacing the team.
Well, as the leader on the floor here for the Eagles, and without Ike Smith once again, Brown really taking matters into his own hands. 4 of 5, 3 of 4 from deep, really getting things established early on.
As Javaris Jenkins dials another one up from outside for Savannah State. They're now 4 for 9 shooting on the afternoon. That cuts the lead back to just 1 point.
Jenkins continuing his hot streak from his last game against William & Mary. Went 5 of 10 from deep, finished with 20 points in the game.
Jackson outside to Brown. Just hit a three-pointer before the commercial break. Down low to Sean O'Connell. He was hoping for a lob, a tip, or an alley-oop. Instead, it'll be poked out of bounds by Savannah State.
And Sean O'Connell getting his first bit of action in tonight's game. He's another guy that can step up for the Eagles, especially down low in the post where you have to go up against guys on Savannah State that are 6'10 or above.
So Georgia Southern playing much bigger today than they often do as O'Connell goes down the lane and gets called for the charge. Had the underneath area as he drove into Javaris Jenkins. And it's interesting, Danny, so often when Mark Byington is concerned with pulling away, making a lot of jump shots, he goes to his smaller lineup. This might be the most consistently tall lineup that he's playing of any Southern game I've seen this year.
Yeah, usually only have one post player down low and having 4 shooters, with Alsmiller being able to work as a guard or a forward. But here in this current lineup, you have Glenn and O'Connell working together in the post.
As Glenn able to stop the first, but the putback from Javaris Jenkins is good for Savannah State. He's now got 5 points on the day as the Tigers take back the lead for the second time this afternoon.
As we see it going back and forth, you're already starting to tell that this isn't going to be an easy task for the Eagles.
Absolutely not. But there's the man, Tukey Brown, commanding the offense. 12 of the Eagles' 22 points already this afternoon. As Jackson finds O'Connell. Back to Quan, mishandled it. And Savannah State now into a 2-3 zone, but they have the speed to make it work. Alsmiller steps into a pass. Stolen away by Descent against Tukey. No foul from Brown, and is able to get the 2-pointer. Eagles now down 3. That is their biggest deficit of the afternoon.
And Descent now with 7 points in the first half, 3 of 5 shooting from the field.
Approaching the 10-minute mark of the first half at Henner Fieldhouse. That one tipped away. That'll be a foul, though, against Savannah State. Javaris Jenkins reached his hand in that time.
And one problem for Georgia Southern early on in this first half have been the amount of turnovers they've committed. So far, 9 turnovers, and Savannah State scoring 8 points off of those turnovers as well.
More stats to be aware of now. Both teams have 5 team fouls here in the first half, and college basketball takes 7 to get the 1-and-1 free throws.
And 10 to get to the double bonus, and the Eagles have taken a plethora of free throws in their last couple of games. They know how to get to the line. There's another turnover for the Eagles, number 10.
Yeah, David Lee Jones trapped in the corner, unable to get away from that trap. And Danny, I was at Georgia Southern practice this week talking to some of the players, talking to Coach Byington. And when I asked B.J. Gladden, hey, what are you guys getting ready for? What drills are you running? The first thing he said wasn't getting ready for their three-point shooting. What he said was, we're getting ready for their traps on defense as the number one thing that they had to deal with. And you can see why, like you said, that trap has already forced 10 turnovers in the first 10 minutes.
Well, Savannah State averages just under 11 steals per game. They have a plus 5.5 turnover margin. So they're able to do a great job trapping their opponents down low in the corners, and they've done a great job so far on the Eagles.
So McClanahan set to inbound now for Savannah State with a 3-point lead over Southern. And Zach Sellers, the sophomore guard, to command it against Gladden on the switch. McClanahan against Glenn, that's a mismatch. Dexter faster, feeds down low. That's Glenn. Shot no good and yanked down by Jackson. And now Brown. 12 of the Eagles' 22 points so far. Great kick. Alsmiller was behind the basket, didn't have the angle. Monte Glenn gets the 2 and puts the game back within 1.
This has been a great year for Monte Glenn, able to up his stats in points per game and in minutes per game, along with rebounds too.
As Dexter McClanahan goes off the glass for a clean 2. Leads the team in scoring, but only 5 points so far tonight.
And one possession game here on the back half of this first half in Hanner.
Tukey trying to split the zone. Quan Jackson shot it just hard off the backboard, but he'll get the rebound. And Southern with a second chance. Tukey tried to draw them and cut through the 2-3 zone, but they were smarter. Round to screen, Allsmiller. NBA range. Bang!
And that's what he's going to need to do here if he wants to stay in track here against the Tigers. He's to compete with them and go fire for fire from deep.
So often last season in the 2016-2017 campaign, Jake Allsmiller was one of the top three-point shooters in the Sun Belt Conference. Not quite there this year, but overall still 7th in school history in three-point shooting.
And the Eagles broke a record last season with the most three-pointers attempted and made, breaking a record from the early 90s. And the way they're shooting here tonight, they could break another school record by the end of March.
This is really a remarkable three-point shooting game so far. Savannah State 4 for 10 from outside, and Southern 7 for 12. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that a couple times this season when I've watched Savannah State for WSAV, Danny, they put up 43 pointers in the game.
They put up 40-plus in their last game against William & Mary as Hughes just off on the three, and looks like possession will stay here for the Eagles.
And I will say, despite the fact that they are clearly struggling against the defensive trap, in terms of guarding the three-point shot for Savannah State, pretty satisfactory job so far for the defense.
Oh, you see every time Allsmiller's getting the ball, he's not getting the perfect pass that he wants. Has to take an extra dribble or so inside to create some space. That's why you got to fire from way downtown just to be able to produce some offense for the team. Jake
again. Just a little bit short. Fired a laser beam. Was going to be a second chance, stolen away by Descent, and now they'll run on the wrong end of a 1-on-2, and that's a charge. Allsmiller hung in there like a champ, and that's a turnover.
He took a couple of charges last week against Tennessee Westland, didn't get the calls that he wanted, but he definitely got the one there. Take another look, Descent driving down the middle of the lane, and Allsmiller getting in perfect position to take a charge.
6th team foul for Savannah State. Southern has 6 as well, only one away from 1-and-1 free throws. A little bit early in the half to be doing that. If you're Coach Byington, you got to think, considering the amount of threes that Savannah State takes, you don't want to give them 3 free throws at the line every time, especially with 8:14 to play in the half. Jake again. Can't have them all, I guess. And now they'll run again. This is Jahir Cabeza getting his first minutes of this game as he kicks to Sellers. Couldn't beat B.J. Gladden. Back to Cabeza. 1-on-1 against Brown. 15 to shoot. Great feed. McClanahan. Shot waved off. Charge. Southern ball.
And another charge taken by Allsmiller. And able to plant himself and get into position.
Last year's Sun Belt Conference leading scorer, Will Ike, is still injured. And you got to think, Danny, that is part of the reason Georgia Southern is already in double-digit turnovers, because Ike is such a great ball handler. Without him, without one of their leading scorers, Southern a little bit struggling on the ball control front.
Yeah, Smith, a key piece in the Eagles roster. Not only leading the team in points, leading the Sun Belt Conference in points, but he also leading the conference in field goals made and free throws made. It was also a Sun Belt Conference Player of the Week last January.
So Southern certainly feeling the loss of their most prolific offensive player, as that one is up and good from Jahir Cabeza, his first points of the game, and Savannah State pulls ahead again. Now, I will say the man commanding the offense there with the ball, number 4, Tukey Brown, who is this year the team's leading scorer, certainly trying to step up and fill the void as he draws the foul. Already 12 of the team's 27 points, and he'll have a chance for 2 more. That was team foul number 8 against Savannah State, so Tukey will get 1 free throw and possibly 2.
And Brown really trying to get things started early, but he's also had 4 turnovers in the game as well, so it also shows how Savannah State's trying to focus up on Brown on defense.
So the junior from Madison, Georgia, for a 1-and-1 at the line. It's the first, and he will get 1 more. Heck of a game last year against Savannah State, had 20, but this is telling. He actually wasn't even the leading scorer in that game, Danny. That was Ike Smith, who was out today, dropped then a season-high 29 against the Tigers last year.
Yeah, played tremendously. 11 of 18 from the field, 3 of 6 from deep, 4 of 7 from the free throw line. Also added 5 rebounds and 3 assists. So he definitely, if you look at that stat line from the last time they played the Tigers, he shows that he's a viable piece in this organization. And you talked about earlier in the top of the broadcast how the rivalry renewed between Georgia Southern and Savannah State. This is the 14th all-time matchup. The Eagles lead the all-time series 12-1, but the Tigers did sneak in a victory in 2015, winning 76-67 at Tiger Arena.
Jenkins elevates and hits over Allsmiller. And all of a sudden, what was a newly tied game is back in the hands of the Tigers. But you got a feeling that Tukey Brown can't do it all, so he needs help of the rest of his team. Jake Alsmiller has 9 points, all from three-point range. And here he is again. Didn't want to pull the trigger that time. That was a little too deep with someone in his face. Not too deep for Tukey Brown, though. Oh, my. 17 of the team's first 32 points. And it gives the Eagles the lead back.
And it's Brown and Alsmiller to make up 7 of the 8 made three-pointers from the Eagles in the first half.
Really remarkable as we approach the 6-minute mark. Hughes to the lane. Draws the foul, 2 shots. That was darn near a charge because he was under the basket. So 2 shots on the line now coming up for Mike Hughes. So far only 3 points tonight for Georgia Southern, but 2 fouls already, one of which came in the opening minute or two, so he's got to be careful.
He definitely wants to be cautious here moving into the final 6:25 of the first because he's going to be really heavily relied upon in the second.
B.J. Gladden will check in for Georgia Southern. That one off the back iron, tipped away by O'Connell. Put back Jackson, yes! Oh, they waved it off. And 1-on-1 free throws coming back the other way. No, pardon me, my mistake. That was a rebounding foul against Savannah State. So Quan Jackson will have 1-and-1. That was before the shot on the come-down rebound.
Actually, double bonus free throws now because Savannah State committed their 10th foul.
That's
so
right.
Now all the Eagles got to do is just drive to the basket and be more aggressive, put the Tigers in foul trouble, and they're able to extend their lead via free throw shots.
Quan Jackson misses the first off the right side. But Southern does have a 2-point lead now as Hughes goes to the bench. And B.J. Gladden checks back in. Southern continuing to play big.
There's moments like this for Savannah State where even though they have 10 fouls in the first half, they have such a deep rotation where it doesn't really bother them that much.
Another 3 on the way. That one good from the corner. And that was Cabeza again. Called that 5 points on the day now for him after he just made his first field goal about 2 minutes ago. 6-minute mark here in the first half. And we got ourselves a 1-point deficit for Georgia Southern. Savannah State's defense coming to play. Down the lane, O'Connell, perfect.
And O'Connell's listed at 6'8", but sometimes with his long arms, he can be 6'9" or 6'10", and a whistle called.
Yeah,
and
Quan Jackson got absolutely destroyed by a Savannah State guard who ran through him, but they'll say because his feet were moving, that was a block, and now 1-and-1 free throws coming for Zach Sellers.
So now the Tigers are in the same boat, able to earn extra points at the charity stripe.
7th team foul against the Eagles, so 1-and-1 now for Sellers. All net on the first for the sophomore.
And Sellers scoreless before knocking down the first.
And a chance to give Savannah State the lead again. And he does. Dan, we've seen a surprising number of lead changes here in the first half today.
Well, it's the battle of I-16, so in a rivalry renewed in the last couple of seasons. So you can tell that the Tigers probably have this matchup marked on their calendar, and the Eagles should start doing so as well.
Tukey up and over. Right on the touch. Gladden, the putback, uses the glass well, and Southern takes the lead back. And Danny, it is worth noting that when he talked about them renewing this rivalry as Fenner drives, draws the foul, coming back the other way against Savannah State. That'll be Alsmiller going to the line for 2 shots. This is the first time that Savannah State has returned the favor and come out here to Statesboro. Last couple of years in an effort to kind of get a little more fan support in the Savannah market. They've played this game on the Marsh at SSU.
Right. This is the first time that the Tigers have returned to Hanners since January 19th, 2005. Just take a look again. Jake Alsmiller really putting his body out there on the floor. The 3rd charge he has drawn for the Eagles.
Tukey trying to get around Tyleek Evans and gets tripped up. And Evans will go over to the bench to talk with the coaching staff here. That is Evans' first personal foul, and Tukey will get 2 shots on the line here and a chance to extend it, hopefully, to a 3-point game.
And Brown, normally a great free throw shooter, above 70% on the season. One of the games where he really had to take a lot of shots was in the home opener against Cal State Bakersfield. Brown finished with 24 points, and he went 9 of 10 from the free throw line in that game.
Here's Tukey. And that's a 3-point lead for Southern as we approach the 5-minute mark to play in the first half. Jenkins against Jackson. Pushed him off. No call. The three from Cabeza. Off the mark. Yanked down by Glenn. And here comes Evans again down the lane. Retreats against Glenn. Big height mismatch. Kicks outside. Kept in bounds. And a new shot clock, 20. Evans against Brown. Loves driving right. Tukey blocked it. Second chance. Knocked away by Monte Glenn. Jenkins somehow able to turn that possession into gold. Something about chicken salad.
Well, that's going to put Savannah State back over 40% from the three-point line. 6 of 14 with that one. This has been a remarkable first half. Tukey Brown already with 19 first half points, and I don't think he's finished yet, Greg.
He's not. That one just off the mark, but Monte Glenn, the clean rebound in the middle of the zone. Allsmiller, great pass down low. Glenn trying to break the 2-3 zone. Goes up, draws the foul. He'll get 2.
Well, great drive by B.J. Gladden trying to go up. Gets the pump fake and draws 2 Tigers in the air. So he'll head to the line for 2. And a great opportunity for the Eagles to continue to do that here in the rest of the first half. Already for Georgia Southern. Gladden taking the 12th and the 13th team free throws for the Eagles.
Substitution for the Tigers, checking in number 32, Chris DuBose.
Chris DuBose checking in now for SSU. First time he'll see playing time today. That's so interesting as Gladden puts up his second shot here and hits to give Southern the lead back. We talked about it briefly, Danny, but Southern only really plays 10 guys in the rotation. Savannah State plays a full 15.
Yeah, so you can already tell at moments where the Eagles may get tired, the Tigers can easily take those guys out, put in a new starting 5, and give his primary team some rest. And that, in the long run, could be in the benefit of Savannah State as this game is continuing to stay close. Multiple lead changes and ties as well.
Yeah, when you have a team that is playing this way that Southern isn't necessarily used to, as Tukey goes off the glass, 21 points now for the junior. Having a smaller rotation against a team like Savannah State is usually to the detriment of the smaller team. So Savannah State will keep playing their game into the second half. Southern's going to need to start hitting as many shots as they did to start the game. They started on a really high clip. Evans down the lane. Shot, no good. Glenn the rebound, keeps it in bounds, and Southern's going to run. Here's Tukey. Great dish. Quan Jackson fouled. 2 at the line.
And great transition for the Eagles. Brown able to find an open Jackson, and Jackson will head to the line and shoot free throws after the immediate timeout. 3:18 left to go in the first. Georgia playing has been a fluctuating comparison as a bowl of porridge. Some of their games going against teams too hot, other teams below them, but this team against Georgia Southern, they're playing just right. Both teams shooting over 50% in the first half as Jackson knocks down the first free throw.
So Quan Jackson now to hit the back end. Southern now a 5-point lead. That's about as big as it has been all game. Really, this has been a fluctuating between 5 points on either side. As Jackson hits the second. Now a 6-point lead for Southern. And it's interesting, though, because I'll tell you, Danny, this game has really felt tied pretty much the whole time.
Absolutely. Back and forth lead changes, a couple of ties throughout. At one moment, the Tigers may get it up on the Eagles. And the other end, Tukey Brown just goes on a run and helps the Georgia Southern get back in the right point.
As Marcius Glenn goes up, you mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Danny, a battle of the Glens. Monte Glenn for Southern, Marcius Glenn for SSU. The Tigers' Glenn has not been nearly as prolific on the scoring front, but having him corral rebounds has been impressive because Savannah State not necessarily a rebounding team, but they've done well today as David Lee Jones dials up a 3 and connects. It's a 7-point lead for Southern.
And Jones missing his first basket he took earlier in the half, and what a block by Monte Glenn down low in the post.
Shot on the way, off the mark. I'll say that's against Southern. David Lee Jones had a hand on it. And it's going to be good news for Savannah State. Marcius Glenn was in on that play, but let's take a second look.
Well, as you see, it looked like Jones got it off of Glenn at the last second, but Glenn may have already been out of bounds. As you see.
Yeah, that might be what they said. First look, it looked like he was able to get that off, but if Jones's foot was out of bounds and he touched the ball. That's enough to keep it.
It was really close, but I'll tell you what, you got Georgia Southern's own Tom Kleinline witnessing the game down low on the baseline, enjoying the up-close action.
Shot on the way, off the mark, put back good from Alante Fenner, the senior forward. Although he's not one of their hottest hands across the season, he's still been everywhere today. That's only 5 points for him, but he's touched the ball a ton. 2 minutes to play in the first half tonight in Hanner Fieldhouse. And it's only a 5-point game between the Eagles and SSU. Jones kicks outside Jackson. 7 to shoot, down low, Glenn, put back, foul.
And that was a beautiful pass from Quan Jackson as well. From the moment I thought he was going to find the outlet pass over to the corner to B.J. Gladden, but instead wraps around, finds Monte Glenn down low in the post. He gets hit, he'll shoot 2.
That's his first. Monte Glenn at the line for the Eagles. He'll be shooting 2.
So Monte Glenn to the line here for Georgia Southern. Certainly stepped up this year, averaging close to 9 points a game.
And also a team leading 8.5 or so 8.7 rebounds a game. Both career highs this season for him.
And that is now 3 points on the afternoon for him so far, the junior from Carrollton, Georgia. Jake Alsmiller checking back in. Coach Byington clearly wants a more outside-oriented look down the home stretch of the first half. And it's good. And a 7-point lead now for Georgia Southern, trying to extend it as they head to the break. A 3 from Jake could do just that.
It looks the key is to extend this lead and to maintain a lead here in the first.
Up and under, shot no good on the reverse layup from Zach Sellers. Foul on the way back down. They'll call it against Georgia Southern. That is going to be, or was it out of bounds? We'll see what the referees say.
Well, the referee, the initial call was that Monte Glenn was out of bounds, corralling the rebound down to take a look. For a moment, Glenn did step out of bounds, but he was just trying to get in position to grab a board.
Yeah, no foul on the come down. They'll just say Glenn was out of bounds when he touched it last, so SSU keeps possession. With 20 on the shot clock, minute 30 to play in the first half. A shot over Tukey Brown, no good. Laser beam that time, and Tukey to run it back up the court after the rebound from Monte Glenn. Tukey behind the back. Alsmiller, NBA range, way off the mark. Yanked down by Monte Glenn, second chance for Southern. That'll be an up and down, right? That should be an up and down against Monte Glenn. Or possibly a travel. Jump ball. And it'll go back SSU's way.
Well, a compromise, but nonetheless, it'll go the way of the Tigers. That was a great spin move down low in the post by Glenn. Did get hit, or did make contact going up. No foul. But at the end of the day, it'll be a jump.
Tried to feed that one that time up top, and now Southern a chance to go 5-on-4. Here's Jake Alsmiller. Quan Jackson trying to slow it down. 50 seconds to play in the half and 20 on the shot clock. Jones trying to get through the zone. Spins down the lane. Can't draw the foul. Surrounded by 4 blue uniforms, and now the Tigers going to run. Outside for 3. Short. SSU has not been hot from outside the last couple of minutes.
Even though they couldn't knock down the 3, that is great transition offense. You saw all 5 Tigers getting after it down the floor, where they had a 5-on-3 advantage.
So a 3-second differential between the game and shot clock. 15 to shoot, and now 15 in the half. SSU is going to attack the ball with a couple seconds, and Tukey is going to initiate the play. Brown, 5 to shoot. Tukey down the lane. Put back from Glenn. No good. SSU, one more heave. Got it off in time. Fenner's shot will not foul and will not go either. End of the first half. That was an exciting one at Hanner Fieldhouse. High scoring. Eagles 49, Savannah State 43. Halftime show coming up after this. Future, hopefully. All right, second half just about underway tonight from Statesboro. Eagles on top 50-43 on top of Savannah State. On the court for the Eagles, Tukey Brown, Monte Glenn, Mike Hughes, David Lee Jones, who subbed the game to begin for Ike Smith, who is still out with an injury, and Jake Alsmiller over there in the corner to round out the lineup. And here is David Lee Jones, back to Tukey. No travel. I thought he moved his foot, but I guess not.
And the question is going to be if Brown can keep up that same intensity on the floor with 21 first half points. You don't want them to fall off here in the second half.
Mike Hughes clanks the first one for the second half as they drive down the lane and kick outside. That's a foul underneath the basket as Alani Fenner drove in and knocked down Jake Allsmiller. That'll be Eagle ball.
And there's Allsmiller again. You saw head coach Mike Byington talking with our sideline reporter Trisha Fishbune on how the best plays in the first half were Allsmiller taking those charges down low on the block, and he does so once again to start the second.
All right, so Mike Hughes inbound once again for Southern over to Tukey Brown, and although they are playing it a little bit slower, you can already see the half-court press for SSU. And here is Hughes. Not an overly impressive first half, just 4 points. Kicks back out to Mike, swings it around to Tukey. Didn't pull the trigger. This quick trap zone defense has been working wonders for the Tigers. Around and off, that was nearly a quick trigger that time for Hughes.
You're seeing both offenses slow down the pace here to start the second, but that may not be the case as we move along more in the half.
Yeah, to begin this game in the first half as the shot is around and in from Alonda Fenner off the glass. The first 4 buckets between the two teams combined, a pair of three-pointers for each team. It was a fast-moving pace. So far in the second, we have already seen a little bit slower tempo as Monte Glenn gets the 2.
And Glenn over the other Glenn for Savannah State, able to get the 2.
And now SSU starting to run the tempo a little bit. Give and go. Really excellent play by Austin Descent. Foul on the play.
And David Lee Jones going to be called for that foul. He's a bit confused. Maybe Fed put a little bit extra dramatics going up for the basket.
It's Oscar season, Dan, and the movies are coming out.
Always a great time in December where some of the Oscar-worthy nominated movies.
Yeah, I would say best flop there. Descent gets the first. Checking back in for Georgia Southern, Quan Jackson. As David Lee Jones goes over to the sideline, and Descent will get his second.
You talk about the amount of three-pointers that Savannah State has taken all season, the most prolific three-point shooting team in all of America. In their last game against William & Mary, they went 16 of 46 behind the arc, taking 28 in the first half, and they're going 6 of 18 in the second.
Jackson fired that one wrong off the glass. Here comes McClanahan. The floater won't fall. Yanked down by Monte Glenn. And the beginning of the second half, certainly much sloppier than the beginning of the first half.
Yeah, a lot of turnovers, a lot of fouls being called. Great defense down low on the block by Monte Glenn. He's also the team leader in blocks this season. He has 2 tonight.
And it is worth noting that in the last game, like you said, Danny, Savannah State put up over 45 three-pointers against William & Mary. Really at a slower pace so far. They've only put up 19 today against Southern.
Yeah, they had to take their first 3 of the second.
Looking for Allsmiller, got him, but the shot with the pass rather was off the mark. Jake tries to beat the zone, kicks. Went for Quan Jackson, able to keep it inbound, but they'll reset the play with 10 on the clock. And here's Tukey. Round the screen. Down the lane. Oh, that's why he's the team's leading scorer. Can't block that without fouling him.
So beautiful being up and under, able to finish with the right hand.
Other end of the floor, Austin Descent makes the layup to cut the lead back down to 8 points. So the Eagles starting to separate themselves, even with a couple minutes left in the first half. It was just a 3-point lead, 4-point lead for Southern. It is now up to 8. Feed down low to Hughes. Great pass. Glenn, the tip won't go. The putback unable to go. And a foul on the play against Savannah State. And that's number 2 on the half.
So Glenn doing a great job as he will get fouled. Here's another look. Hughes couldn't get it with the opposite hand. Glenn trying to get the tip in with the left. And then it was Renner that was right there and ended up getting the foul. He didn't mean to get Monte, but the way Monte was falling and trying to get the putback, foul was called. And that may be something that Savannah State might want to limit in the second half, the amount of fouls that they have committed, sending Georgia Southern shooting double bonus free throws.
Eagles swing the perimeter. Here's Tukey. Falls down and makes the shot. No foul. Still counts for 3, and it's an 8-point lead, or rather a 9-point lead for Georgia Southern. Oh, you got to be kidding me.
Man, Brown is heating up here in this match.
He knows that Ike Smith is out of the game. So he knows he had to put the team on his back, and he has. Of the Eagles' 57 points, he's got 26.
This is a tremendous bounce back for Tukey Brown. Back when the Eagles were in Estero, Florida for the Florida Gulf Coast Showcase Tournament, those last two games, the championship game and even the matchup against Bradley, Brown did not have the best of shooting nights. So the Tennessee Wesleyan game got him back into shape, and now he's firing at all cylinders against the Tigers.
The send back outside to Sellers, and the Eagles a 9-point lead. McClanahan, a deep three. That one clanked off the right side. And Quan Jackson able to corral it, and Southern's going to run. They would love to have a double-digit lead for the first time tonight. Allsmiller might give it to him. That one off the front iron. Put back Monte Glenn. He gets the two. No, they'll wave it off.
You've seen a couple of plays by the Eagles that get waved off at the last second, but you have to love the second chance opportunities that Monte Glenn is trying to create for his team.
So both teams now with 2 team fouls as Monte Glenn goes to the bench. B.J. Gladden comes back in. And Allsmiller heads to the bench as well. Coy Simmons coming off the bench. He'll get his second round of minutes. So Southern now, Danny, going big.
This is a great opportunity for guys like Gladden and for Simmons to really become involved in this Eagle offense and to provide a couple of turnovers on the defensive side as well.
Southern going big, trying to compete. That one will be on Coy Simmons. He was shoving around Marcus Glenn.
I want to let it be known now, Greg. We talk about how Tukey Brown has been phenomenal. He's got 26 points. His career high is 34.
We were taking a look at some of the first half Tukey Brown highlights. We missed Dexter McClanahan getting fouled as he drove up to the basket. So 2 shots coming up for the junior from Stockbridge, Georgia.
We talked about earlier at the top of the broadcast, Greg, how McClanahan was going to be a key impact player for Savannah State, but he hasn't been much involved. 2 of 5 from the field. He knocks down the first free throw of his first attempts at the line, currently with 6 points.
Yeah, leading the team in scoring 14 points a game, almost a non-factor tonight after a couple big possessions earlier in the first half as Coy Simmons able to get the rebound for Southern. And the lead now down to 8 for Georgia Southern. And the bigger lineup stays in. Foul on the floor. Quan Jackson down there at midcourt, and they'll keep possession.
And Georgia Southern 6-2 on the season. This is their 4th matchup in hand. So far, a perfect 3-0. Trying to make it 4-0 against the Tigers, defeating Cal State Bakersfield in their opener, then defeating Bluefield State, a season high 120 points, and then defeating Tennessee Wesleyan 97-61.
A little bit of a later home schedule to begin this season, but that all changes at the end of this month. Conference play starts on December 29th. And then we've got most of the way home. We got home games certainly every 2 weeks here in Statesboro, and there are a couple of weeks where it's every week.
And, of course, one home game that a lot of fans may have scheduled on their calendars, January 27th, Texas-Arlington, the favorites to win the Sun Belt Conference with preseason player of the year Kevin Herbie, will drive down to Hanner.
That shot off the mark and yanked down by Mike Hughes, feeds it over to Tukey Brown, and Georgia Southern still an 8-point lead here on top of Savannah State. Quan Jackson wouldn't pull the trigger. Looking to kick. Defense able to read it. Tukey improvises and gets 2, and it's a 10-point lead for Southern.
Absorbing the contact and maintaining, and a steal in Brown with the kick out to Hughes.
Here's Mike. Spins. Shot off the mark. Got his own rebound. Tipped away. And SSU able to get it back. Little improvisation there by Tukey and Mike. Ends in a steal. Shot up, around, and in from Zach Sellers off the glass. And Savannah State will burn the timeout. 61-53. And will take it with them on True Blue TV.
Lead trying to extend it even longer. A lot of back and forth here in the second. Tremendous performance by Tukey Brown, just continuing to run up the score. I said earlier that his career high is 34. He has 28, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I think he's going to break that here tonight.
That will certainly be something down the stretch that we have to look for.
Just the way that Brown has had to carry this team with no Ike Smith yet again for another game. We don't know the timetable of Smith's return, but as long as he's back by the beginning of conference play, that's when it matters the most.
Certainly so. Hughes didn't pull the trigger. Stops, steps, and hits. He had Allsmiller in the corner, but he felt comfortable from the elbow.
And you want Hughes to be confident, to increase his confidence. You want everybody to be confident, so Hughes has to take that shot to gain a little bit of momentum for himself.
Down the lane against Allsmiller. That has to be a charge. They'll wave it off. And they'll keep it with SSU. That one is surprising. No call that against Allsmiller. They say he pushed off with his arm. Let's take a look. Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Feet might have been moving.
That's close.
Hard to say.
Jenkins getting away with that one. So the Eagles have one more foul to give, and then a foul after that will send the Tigers into bonus free throws.
So Sellers in the backcourt working against Mike Hughes. Heist mismatch there as they switch up and get him on Glenn. Down low, this is Marcius Glenn. He's open for 2 off the glass, and he beat Monte Glenn on that play.
The senior from Greensboro, Georgia, a transfer from Allen University.
Allsmiller in the corner. That's one of his favorites. Great rebound by Monte Glenn, trying to force it out of the trap. Second chance, does draw the foul, and Monte gets 2.
Another 10-plus rebound game for Monte Glenn, his 3rd of the season, grabbing his 13th rebound on the offensive miss. Gets hit.
And look at the smile on his face. He's like finally able to get the free throws. Look at that. He's relieved.
He's only been to the line once. He's made the 2 free throws so far, but just looking at the way Monte Glenn is just able to battle down low against the Giants of the Savannah State big man. 5 offensive rebounds, 8 defensive. It just shows that he's putting in work on both sides of the floor.
So Glenn able to get the first. Monte clanks it off the back end. And now Savannah State's going to run. This is Tyleek Collins, the fast little point guard who likes to drive the edge. Now on the elbow, it's Javaris Jenkins back out to Evans. Didn't pull the trigger. Down low one-on-one. Gladden on defense. Working against Jenkins. Turnaround is pure.
And you're seeing the Tigers work more inside the post, more so than trying to take a lot of threes. They've only taken 1 3-point attempt in the second half, and that was a miss.
Jake Grove baseline had it tipped away. Now up to descent. It's 3-on-1 in the corner. It's Evans. Got it. And it's a 4-point game. It had been as high as 10 here in the second half. All of a sudden, a run from SSU has it within 2 possessions, Danny.
And Jones.
Cool. You'll like it even more. Because Zaxby's 5 fan favorites are now just $5.99 each.
All right, welcome back to True Blue TV. Greg Talbot and Danny Waugh with you here. Inside 13 minutes to play in this game tonight from Hanner Fieldhouse, and the Eagles on top of Savannah State by 4 points. As Tukey Brown David Lee Jones driving on the up and under reverse layup, and it's back to a 6-point lead for Georgia Southern. And as much as they've been playing a tall lineup here in the second half, Eagles going a little bit shorter, only forward on the floor now is Monte Glenn, Danny.
This is the natural starting 5 that they had. Back to the original from the beginning of the game, with Monte Glenn being the primary big man and Jake Allsmiller technically the 4, but the shooter from the corner.
Javaris Jenkins able to hit the 2 as that one out of bounds, and Southern is going to give this one back to Savannah State. Javaris Jenkins just laid that in for SSU. Not their primary scorer all season, but now 18 points tonight against the Eagle defense.
And Jenkins stepping up, 8 of 12 from the field, 3 of 5 from deep, and the Tigers have currently made their last 5 baskets. A great denial for the Eagles.
Here's Tukey in transition. Got it for 2. Allsmiller to Tukey on the outlet, and a great turnaround for Southern. 6-point game again.
And Brown loves that hesitation. Getting to the middle of the floor, slowing his the speed down, and then able to quickly get past the defender for the easy layup.
Rejected on the second straight possession. That one came from Monte Glenn, but he's hobbling. He says something happened to his leg or his ankle. He is grasping it. You see it there in the top left corner of your screen.
You saw him working the mouth to the coach. I can't walk. I can't walk. So luckily, immediate timeout here. Glenn is going to sit down toward the base.
Got back up and got to the bench. Maybe there's a calf cramp, I would say.
Possibly a calf cramp, and Monte Glenn just having a phenomenal game, so he could just be putting in that extra work. 7 points, has made all of his made baskets and free throws, and adding 13 rebounds to the fold as well.
Allsmiller for 3. That would have made it a 9-point game. Instead, it'll say it a 6-point lead for Southern, 11:30 to play. Evans, stop and start. Outside, it's Fenner against Allsmiller. That one's going back the other way. Marcius Glenn on the travel. Center step not going to work.
He thought about taking the pump fake. He may have overthought it there, trying to go up, and either opportunity would have been great for him. He had no space to get a short floater, but decided to try and take it deeper inside the post, but he gets called for traveling.
All right, Tukey Brown now back to Mike Hughes. Now working it up court on the outlet pass to Jones. Tukey for three. That one's certainly short, low line drive shot. Tukey has 30 points. That his career high is what, 34?
34.
All right, 4 to go for his career high. Certainly be nice to do it against the local rivals. McClanahan drives. Their leading scorer draws the foul. That'll be 2.
And that game was January 25th, 2016 against their conference rivals, Appalachian State. That was in Boone, North Carolina. So
a game they surprisingly lost, despite that he scored 34 points.
Yeah, it was a close contest. Both of those matchups against Appalachian State were very back and forth and really close for either team.
Especially considering the fact that as McClanahan shoots, Southern's certainly the superior team to App State last year. McClanahan hits first, the leading scorer drills it. And that'll make 7 points for him now tonight. 5-point game. Go ahead, Danny.
There'll be 2 more fun contests against the Mountaineers this season. Actually, they're playing Appalachian State once, and that game will be in Boone.
Just one time, yeah.
Just one time this season, which is a bit odd. Usually the teams that are closer, as you see in football, the Sun Belt Conference being split up in 2 divisions, that they would play those teams that are closer towards them more than once, at least twice.
I was surprised to see App State's not coming down here this year.
I wonder whose call is that.
Probably come back next year, right? Probably 1-1, I guess.
I would hope so. I mean, this is a rivalry that stretched out not just in the Sun Belt Conference, but even when both teams were in the SoCon. These 2 programs made the jump together from FCS to FBS, and only right that they have a home and home every season.
So Southern a 4-point lead. Alsmiller pulls the trigger and connects. 14 points for the senior guard. And Eagles back up 7 points. Chance for more now with Tukey on the steal. And they'll slow it down. Here's Hughes. Keeps possession, reworks it. 20 on the shot clock, taking their time. Big 3. Hughes just a little bit long on the step back. Coy Simmons the rebound, one of their tallest guys. And Southern resets the new shot clock.
Great offensive board by Simmons. You got to wonder how his thumb is feeling. He's had it taped up the last couple of games as Mike Hughes draws a foul.
And he will get 2 more, the senior guard from Winston-Salem.
What a long road travel for both Mike Hughes and Coy Simmons, both from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Both went to Winston-Salem Prep. Both decided to come to Georgia Southern, and both in their senior season looking to end this incredible journey on a high note.
Mike clanks his first. That is now 5 team fouls against Savannah State. Eagles have 6, but you saw just a second ago on the graphic, 3 players do have 3 fouls for Savannah State.
Yeah, they have to be very cautious here. Currently 6 fouls for Georgia Southern. The next one will put in the bonus. And then you get late in the game, you don't want to commit any more fouls that have this game be brought down to free throw shots.
8-point lead for Southern. Approaching the 10-minute mark here in the second half. Descent. Works back outside to Fenner. 3 over Gladden. No way. Second chance. Up and good from Jarvis Jenkins. 20 points. Now for the junior forward.
And I would keep on getting Jenkins involved in the offense. He's been the primary scorer for the Tigers and keeping them close within the game, within 6 now on the Eagles.
So Quan Jackson and David Lee Jones now both in this lineup for Southern, trying to make up for the fact that Jared Hamilton transferred out of the program, announced today as B.J. Gladden gets it off the glass for 2 more.
And that was a big surprise to all of us. The fact that Hamilton decided to transfer after already being a transfer from Jacksonville State and sitting out the last year.
Tyleek Evans, gets it off the glass for 2 more. Trying to cut the lead down now, back to just 6 points. But yeah, Danny, I think we were all surprised at the press release that was sent out this afternoon about the fact that Jared Hamilton, who had transferred, that was good from David Lee Jones, that Jared had transferred away. So the fact that so far this season, as this shot from Evans is an air ball, he missed it. All this season, one of the big storylines is that head coach Mark Byington and the Eagles have been trying to expand the rotation, get more guys involved so the team didn't get winded. All of a sudden, you're down one of those men that you were hoping to expand the rotation with.
Well, this was a primary opportunity for a lot of role-playing players on the Eagles roster because unlike last season where they brought back all of their offense, just over 90% of their offense, this season They'll be the last years for Mike Hughes, Coy Simmons, and Jake Alsmiller, 3 guys who have been very beneficial to the program, have been on the team back when the Eagles made it all the way to the conference championship against Georgia State. They've seen the highs and lows, and they want to go off on a high note, and once they leave, Byington knows he's going to have to replace those players. So while we wish the best for Jared Hamilton, and the fact that he was upset with his playing time, it's a little, I don't want to say bizarre, but you have a lot of questions. It raises a lot of eyebrows that he made this decision.
So Coy Simmons back to the bench, and Sean O'Connell now checking back in, the redshirt junior from Roswell. Eagles staying big. B.J. Gladden still in the lineup here, along with Quan Jackson, who's a 6'4" stretch guard forward. Jenkins still working against O'Connell. He's the leading scorer at 20 points. Sellers beat O'Connell to the basket, and he'll get one more.
O'Connell a little late, heading over, trying to get the block, but instead draws a foul, or commits a foul.
Chance to put this back within 5.
Zach Sellers at the line for the Tigers. He'll be shooting 1. Returning the game for the Eagles. Number 4, Tukey Brown.
And Tukey Brown will check back into this game for Southern. Still just 4 points shy of his career high. You see him behind Sellers. So with Tukey back in the game, he's got 8:25 to do it. He is 4 points shy of tying his career high, but need 5 to beat it. And it'd be sweet for him to do it against a rival. He set the career high against App State rival. Savannah State, once again, a local rival. Hughes pulls the trigger, comes up short.
It would be great if he did it at home, because that 34-point performance was in Boone.
Here's Tukey. Whistle blown as he came back the other way. Against SSU, that's on Zach Sellers. That is number 8. And if Tukey had the ball, or rather that's number 6 against Savannah State. My mistake, it's 8 against Southern.
Taking a look here, Brown thought he was in a prime path down the lane to continue to maneuver his way through.
And here is Tukey. Only a 5-point lead for Southern. They're not out of the woods yet. Tukey does lead all scorers with 30. Hughes for 3. That one was tipped. And it's an air ball technically as Jenkins gets the rebound. They'll run. It's Sellers. Splits the D. Doesn't move his feet. No travel. McClanahan with 20 seconds. Jenkins again. Fouled. 2 coming. That'll be number 9 against Southern. And a timeout on the floor. The number under 8 media break. Southern only lead.
They broke everything down toward the evening, and then this morning, they set everything up for today's basketball contest.
All right, so Georgia Southern on top of Savannah State by 5, but Javaris Jenkins here, the team's leading scorer, trying to cut that down. And it's a 4-point lead now for Southern. That's 21 points on the day for him.
And Jenkins knocking down the first free throw. It's his first time at the line. 9 of 14 on the field, 2 of 5 from deep. Savannah State, their 3-point percentage has dropped tremendously here in the second half. Now just under 30%, and even Georgia Southern at 35%.
I got to tell you, though, 24 attempted threes by SSU, 31 by Southern, as that shot has been good for the Eagles. The SSU three-point rate has not been nearly what it has been throughout the rest of the year, as McClanahan can't hit that one either. Now the question is, Danny, is it the chicken or the egg? Is it that they know they're not shooting well, so they're taking less? Or is the Southern defensive approach just forcing them to work inside more?
Well, you didn't see them shoot as many to start the second half. You saw both teams kind of slow down the pace to start, but now here in the last couple of minutes, they just haven't been hitting from deep. You've seen a couple of spurts for Georgia Southern. That's really put them ahead.
Yeah, and SSU now moving back into the trap 2-3 zone. Here's Jones. That one off the mark. And because it didn't hit the rim, that will be a shot clock violation. The Eagles trying to contest that foul.
Even Monte Glenn was wondering what was going on. He thought that it hit the rim and there was a renewed shot clock, but it looks like the officials will talk things over.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure it did.
You have to wonder what they're saying. The officials for tonight's game, Landon Brandes, John Heatley, and R.B. Kleibum. So it looks like possession will stay for Georgia Southern. Just inbound from the baseline. It'll take a couple seconds off of the shot clock, 28 to be exact.
And Southern does get it back, and they'll whip it around the perimeter. Monte Glen back into this game. Tukey trapped, trying to break the trap. Jones in the corner has space. Won't pull the trigger. Hughes didn't like the look. 15 to shoot. And they'll run this play even further. Tukey with the ball back. Corner three. Airballed from David Lee Jones. His depth perception is not on tonight. If I were him, I would stop taking the threes. That one was good from McClanahan.
Well, you talked about at halftime how as one of the players you wanted to see improve more in a second was David Lee Jones.
Yeah, what is he, 1 for 5 from 3? He's 1 for 4.
Currently 1 for 4 from 3. 3 of 7 overall with 7 points.
Yeah, maybe not. I take it back.
Well, he's seeing an increase in minutes here. This is his second start. His first start was last Saturday against Tennessee Wesleyan when Smith was out. Here's a long three from Alsmiller.
You gotta be kidding me. It was a 3-point game. Now it's 6. And is so often the case here in Statesboro. A 3 from Alsmiller kickstarts this building again.
In the last couple of games, you've seen Alsmiller take 10-plus 3-point attempts. And Byington is okay with it because you know he's going to knock down at least 4 or 5.
Descent. Trapped. Air ball. Going back to Southern.
And now the Eagles are trying to secure the bag, as some would say, trying to hold on to this victory in the final 5:20. Being able to force turnovers on Savannah State, something you didn't see as much in the first half because it was the Tigers that were trapping the Eagles more so than the other way around.
Get clean looks, run the clock, and get the ball into the hands of Tukey Brown and Jake Alsmiller and Mike Hughes. Or he's open down low, Monte Glen. Jake again. Oh, that might have been the ball game. I'll tell you what, one more, that would have ended this for SSU.
I would keep feeding it to him. He's trying to get hot. He's trying to help the team, and like a foul's going to be on the floor, and Monte Glen will head to the line. A great opportunity for Glen. He has 9 points, 16 rebounds, 1 point away from a double-double, and I believe he definitely has earned it.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you, you said at halftime, you're reading through his stats, and said, yeah, the scoring's nice, but they need him for the rebounds. He's already the team's leading rebounder this year, earning a scholarship certainly today.
So his fourth 10-plus rebound game.
And now for the double-double. And Monte's got it.
He also has a career high in rebounds with 16. The previous career high was 13 at the beginning of the season against Wake Forest, and you can tell that those 13 boards really did help produce an Eagle victory over the Demon Deacons in Winston-Salem.
Eagles certainly hoping that season-opening win against Wake Forest is a harbinger of things to come.
It's a great hometown victory for Hughes and Simmons as well from the Winston-Salem area.
That's exactly right. And now Southern gets this one back in the lead, which had been down to just 3 just minutes ago, Danny. Now back up to 8.
Trying to go out on the run. And that man right there has been the driving force of that run.
And here's Tukey working against Sellers. They're keeping Jones in there for the ball control and the passing. Down low, B.J. Gladden gets out of the trap. Here is Jones. Gets to the rack, up and in. That one went in. Do not count the tip back out. That's going to count for 2 points, and that might be goaltending too. Let's take a look.
Well, no matter what, the points will go to David Lee Jones.
Yeah, the 2 certainly counts. Now the Eagles lead by 10 after leading by 3 just a little while back. And here's Jenkins. Working against Jackson. Outside Jenkins already has 22 points. Nearly tipped away, lost control, and a block called against Jackson, although I kind of thought, Danny, he was going down the lane recklessly.
It's a tough call to make, but it'll go in favor of Savannah State, so 2 free throws are going to be taken. So the Eagles are in the double bonus. Savannah State just getting in the bonus with a 7th foul that was just picked up by Javaris Jenkins, I'm sorry.
Jenkins hits number 1. That's 23 points for him. And despite the fact that Dexter McClanahan is usually their sharpshooter, it really has been the inside game that has done wonders for them today. But looking at the big picture, Danny, as Jenkins gets ready to attempt his second here, I have a question for you after the shot. I think allowing SSU to do what they do inside was actually a strategy of head coach Mark Byington, because if you leave open the threes, this game is close enough that if you just let SSU have their way from the perimeter, they might be winning this game by making outside shots, as it's an and one for B.J. Gladden. I think this is all strategy, looking big picture by Mark Byington.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, as you see the replay here, B.J. Gladden, great ball control, able to handle and go in for the and one finish. I mean, you look at the way the game started, and
I think you forced him inside.
I guess Byington wanted to see for himself how great of a three-point shooting team Savannah State was, and you saw right out of the gate they traded threes all throughout the first half, but now in the second, things have been slowed down. They've been forcing things on the inside of the perimeter more so than outside, and when they do go outside, they're not in rhythm. And
I think it's intentional, yeah. I think this is coaching from Byington right now as Gladden lines up and gets the and one. It's an 11-point lead for Georgia Southern with 4:15 to play. Unless SSU drills threes from here on out and Southern doesn't control the clock, this one is nearly done. So here's Sellers. Straight to the rack. Lost control of the ball. He'll keep possession. They'll say it was off Southern.
So this is Savannah State. They're down by 11 here with 4:14 to play. I mean, it wouldn't put it behind me that the Tigers can go on a run here in the final couple of minutes. But Georgia Southern really trying to close out this game after the Tigers were close throughout the majority of the contest.
Gladden going back to the bench, and Coy Simmons coming in to guard Javaris Jenkins. McClanahan. Back to Jenkins, to the rack. Great move. That's what you would expect from their leading scorer, 26 points. Southern comes back. Here's Hughes the other way. Mike will take it himself. Down low to Simmons. Their big man draws the foul. 2 shots.
But the two North Carolinians working together down low in the post, and Simmons will shoot 2 following the final media timeout of the evening. 3:45 left to go. Eagles
3-point game with about 8 minutes to play. Since then, Southern has responded. Coy Simmons coming to the line for 2 shots and a chance to make this a double-digit game again and maybe put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, you got to close it out right here in these final 3:45 as Simmons able to knock down the first free throw. Now, you talked about a little bit, Greg, at the beginning of the second half that the Tigers don't want to get into foul trouble. Well, currently they have to be very cautious because McClanahan and Finner both have 4 fouls. Jenkins with only 2, and Sellers with 3.
Well, McClanahan is in the game. In fact, he's right here on the right side of your screen to inbound the ball. He's the team's leading scorer on this season, about 14.5 points a game. So they need to keep him in if they want to cut down this lead and do it quickly.
Yeah, even though he hasn't had the best of shooting nights, he can always heat up late in the game as a jumper falls by Jenkins.
Yeah, the LaMarcus Aldridge elbow jumper gives him 28 on the night as Tuke is able to get the board.
I was really certain Brown was going to break his own career high in points. He has 30.
And Mark Byington wants the timeout. We'll take it with him here on True Blue TV. 9 point for the Eagles lead as we head down the home stretch from Statesboro.
Introduced me to it, and so I started working with the team back in 2000. So this is my 17th year of working with Georgia Southern Athletics.
Schedule your appointment today with Dr. Deal at Vision Source. The Eagles trust his team to take.
Just kidding. We're back on True Blue TV. Quan Jackson for 2 and an 11-point lead for Georgia Southern. So SSU trying to cut it down. 11-point lead down the lane. Sellers gets the 2. No third opportunity. He'll get 2 shots. And Danny fouling on Georgia Southern. The question is, do you want to let him get the open look and keep the clock running, or do you want to stop the clock and make him earn the points?
That is a very tough question. The Eagles are shooting 49% from the field at this time. So if you do let him take a shot, you got a 50-50 chance of it going in and out, or you can send him to the free throw line. Either way, the result won't be great for Savannah State. Because the Eagles have also shot 20 of 26 from the free throw line. So if you send them to the line, they have a better chance of shooting too.
Yeah, and the important stat to me looking at Savannah State is only 7 for 25 from three-point range. They've attempted about 15, 20 less three-pointers than they do on average just today alone.
But they have been
So
doing a better
twos-
job on the interior.
Yeah, and twos aren't going to do it, though, for Savannah State with this much time left. It's got to be threes as Tukey able to get out of the trap. Here's BJ Gladden in, back to Brown. 15 on the clock. Miller in the corner. Might get the kick. Tukey does it himself. Off the glass. Put back from BJ Gladden. Oh, you got to be kidding me. And he'll get one more. The senior from Charlotte, look at this move.
And he's the guy I was telling you about earlier, Greg. BJ Gladden, a great opportunity and a great game for him to get back in his own rhythm, to be that role player that he was last year for the team.
BJ Gladden at the line, shooting one.
Gladden with 11 points, perfect 4 of 4 from the field. And following the and one free throw shot,
Can't get it to go, but it's still a 12-point lead. That's as big as the lead has been all in the second half.
Yeah, Gladden now 3 of 5 from the charity stripe.
McClanahan has already got 4 fouls against him. Got to be careful. John Grant just into this game. They need some new blood. Turnaround from Jenkins. Fouled. One more.
I was about to say, I wonder what Savannah State is doing here. They're letting time run off the clock, and they're trying to work their way inside when you said they should be shooting threes. But Jenkins will head to the line for one more, so a three-point play is just the same.
And that is now 30 points and a free throw here. He'll pass Tukey Brown to be the overall leading scorer tonight. They both got 30.
It's been a great performance by these two players, and Jenkins and Brown.
31, he leads all scorers. And it's a 9-point game. All right, Tukey able to corral the inbound against a pesky Tyleek Evans. And Quan Jackson breaks the zone. Miller 3. Almost the nail on the coffin. BJ Gladden almost able to get a hold of it, but it's back outside to Tukey.
A great tap out by Hughes. Knowing that they got to run time off the clock, Brown goes up and gets hit. He'll shoot 2. We talk about record-breaking nights for Tukey Brown, as we said he was 4 points away from tying his career high, 1 away from breaking it for Javaris Jenkins. His career high in points is 33. He's got 31 tonight. Those 33 points came back in 2014 against Cleveland State.
Tukey connects on the front end, back to a double-digit lead for Southern, and he's got 31. He is 3 from tying his career high. He's a shot away. But inside 2 minutes to make it happen. Out of bounds. Miller comes flying into the scorer's table. Hi, Jake. Hope you're feeling all right, buddy. He appears to be all right.
Great three-point shooting in this game.
Flashes a smile, and he's back on defense. Southern up 11, and Sellers on the inbound.
Gotta love the hustle by Miller on defense.
Certainly a scrappy player.
The multiple offensive charges he has taken.
A good toughness from him today. McClanahan leading the scorer. Can't go over BJ Gladden, and BJ gets the rebound. Back to Tukey. 90 seconds. A two-pointer here from Tukey would tie his career high, and a 3 would pass it. Jackson draws the foul.
There was a play earlier in the first half where Jackson was trying to wind it up back and trying to jam on his opponent. He tried to do so once again. Saw an open lane on the baseline, but once again getting hit and heads to the free throw line.
So here's the redshirt freshman from Tallahassee. He'll be getting a lot more playing time this season with Jared Hamilton transferring out of the program today.
And then a bizarre move, as bizarre as it is, just more opportunities for role players on the bench.
Yeah, him and David Lee Jones will be seeing a lot more time, and probably Coy Simmons too.
I wonder how Jackson feels about all this. He's a redshirt freshman, so he redshirted last season along with Jared Hamilton. So the two possibly have gotten along quite a bit, and we're looking forward to maybe even playing with each other on the floor this season. With the absence of Hamilton, and you wonder now with him already transferring one time prior from Jacksonville State, where he will likely end up next season.
Around and off from Sellers. Miller the rebound, 1:15 to play. Not sure if SSU wants to start fouling. Here's Jackson. Hughes. Looking for Tukey, instead gets Jake. Outside Jackson, now Brown. Minute to play, Eagles up 12. Tukey a shot away from tying his career high. Tukey had it tipped away. That should have been off the hands of SSU. It should be a Southern inbound with 4 on the clock.
And it will be so. The call will stand. So 4 on the clock. Brown's going to inbound it from the baseline.
All right, a 12-point lead for Southern. They're going to call it Savannah State basketball off the leg of Tukey after the block shot. 45 seconds. Sellers down low, jammed in by Marcius Glenn, and a timeout called by Savannah State. They want to try to make a run despite the fact that it's a 10-point lead. All right, so unless we see a miracle here, Danny Wall, Southern's going to hold on with Ike missing the last 2 games. And I got to say, those 2 games that they lost, they're 6-2 on the season. The 2 losses to Bradley and Towson, Ike single digits just like Tukey in both of those games as well.
And honestly, this is more of a reminder game for a lot of Georgia Southern fans, because you have to remember he was a Sun Belt Conference Freshman of the Year. So in the freshman year,
number 2 scorer in the conference last year too.
Yeah, a lot of people some people feel like he was overshadowed by Ike Smith, because Smith did lead the Sun Belt Conference in so many different categories, and they forget that if it's not for Brown running the ball on the floor.
Allsmiller the inbound. Now Tukey's got the ball.
You don't know what can happen.
Full court press in full effect. Jackson for Allsmiller. Holding the ball. 33 on the game clock, 18 on the play clock. Hughes pumps, can't finish, rebounded by Sellers. And they'll run, keeps it in bounds. This is Glenn again. Gets the 2, and they will burn another timeout. So we just talked about Georgia Southern's MVP. Let's talk about Savannah State. Got to be Javaris Jenkins for you, right?
Yeah, Javaris Jenkins really stepping in with McClanahan, the leading scorer. Savannah have a couple days off for Christmas, and then you got to collect your thoughts and get back together. You head to Michigan, and you got to face the Spartans.
In the I-zone, and that is, as a college basketball fan, that Michigan State atmosphere is one of the toughest in college basketball. So that one's just going to be a nightmare. As the inbound, able to get back to Allsmiller. 15 to play. Fouled, and now we'll talk about free throws.
So Allsmiller going to head to the line. You can't forget Jake Allsmiller as well. When you have a primary guy that's scoring, you got to have your secondary guy to back things up. And Jake Allsmiller has been a great player in the game. 40% from the field. He's taken 5. He's made 5 of 14 3-pointers in the game. Yeah,
even more importantly, the spark plug for this offense. 3 of his 3-pointers were the loudest this building got all night.
Yeah, even though he had a slump midway through the game, when they need a 3, Allsmiller is there, and they have been from tremendous range, and he had to, because the defense of Savannah State was so good, being able to trap and keep the players off of the 3-point line. They had to hit a couple steps back.
Jake connects. 19 points on the day for him, and that might be what he finishes with, depending on how SSU actually tries to win this game here. Here's Sellers against Tukey. Don't foul him. They won't. He'll get the 2, and they'll foul again here. They'll just try not to turn it over. We might play for another 5 minutes here. Foul. Free throws coming. So SSU's not going to let this one get away.
There's a lot of positives that SSU can take away in this game. I mean, they shot 51% from the floor. They just had troubles from the 3-point line, and that's going to happen. That's expected. You live by the 3, and you die by the 3. Some nights you're on fire. Some nights you hit a cold spell. It's just the way basketball is.
Let's do it the line now for David Lee Jones. And the Eagles are into triple digits. 100 points on the afternoon.
First time since November 16th where they defeated Bluefield State 120-52. It looks like the number 100 will stay there unless Jackson wants to take off. Fly, Eagle, fly!
Special delivery for the freshman from Tallahassee. And that'll do it. An emphatic exclamation point for Georgia Southern. That shot's not going to count. Final score tonight from Hanner Fieldhouse. Georgia Southern 102, Savannah State 91, and the Eagles, Danny, are 7-2 on the season after a shaky start. A convincing